Hey everybody, we'll do a quick roll call. Where my 6th grade girls? 6th grade boys? Alright, where my seniors at? They've lost some zeal. 11th grade girls? Are they in here? Yeah. Punks. 11th grade guys? Alright. What about my 7th grade boys? 7th grade girls? 8th grade girls? 8th grade guys? 9th grade guys?
Check 1, 2. All right.
Yeah, they playing that. 9th grade girls. And lastly, our 10th grade guys. 10th grade girls. All right. So we got everybody.
Nice. What's up, Brady, man? What's up?
Hey, so,
Hey, how were your gummies? Hey, one of the best things about having small children at the house is I can judgment-free buy as many gummies as I want at the grocery store. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. All right, hey, so we're going to do something different. Ben and I are going to fight to the death. So we actually got back tattoos for this. Pretty excited about it. No, so we're going to do something completely different. We're going to invite a couple of our friends to come to the stage. So Mr. Carter Collins and Mr. Brad Randall and also my man Montana. You guys can come on up here.
Yeah. Hey, so as they're walking up, let's do a quick poll. There's a rumor, or there's a thing.
Are we fighting?
No, we're not fighting. I'm getting off the stage if that's the case. If you think we look like each other,
Man!
Yeah.
hey, if you think that Montana and I look alike, raise your hand.
For the rest of the year, cheering my name like that.
They don't think so. All right. Hey, shh. I know you love to talk when Marshall and I are talking, but today there's 3 other people up here, and so let's give them our respect. We're going to have a time where we just dive a little more into our theme, but more on a conversational level, and then we have some other things planned. So this will be a time if you still have like your notepad or something like this, that they will say things. These guys are smart.
They're gonna say things.
They're gonna say things,
Yeah,
and they're smart. But for real, Montana has probably read more books this past month than I did my whole life. So
more than 2.
How many?
more than 2, yeah.
Did you
and
finish?
one was a
Did
fiction
you finish
book.
the Christmas book we got you?
I did.
You finished?
I'm proud.
That's 1, bro. 2020, baby.
2020, new me.
Hey, how many of you guys still have like on your resolutions? You're doing pretty good. How many of you have failed drastically? How many of you didn't set one? You are the future.
The fast doesn't count.
You are the future.
All right. So these guys, y'all just jump in however you feel. But like I said, we're going to be talking about our theme, I'm certain. But there's a flip side to that. There's uncertainty. And I feel like that's something that everybody deals with. Maybe they don't talk about as much. And so specifically in regards to salvation as a believer, was there a time, and can you kind of elaborate, that you questioned your salvation? Just anybody jump in.
They hear me talk all the time, so I'll let one of them.
Mine would be mid-20s. I gave my life to Christ when I was 16 years old. I did some emotional things before, but at 16 years old, revival, First Baptist Richland, I can take you right now to about the place I was sitting at. But, I mean, there was change in my heart, change in my life, and I went back to sin. And so about mid-20s, which is, by the way, a very dangerous time in life. I mean, you can For a lack of explaining, you can afford to sin. You have the money to sin. You have more freedom to sin. And so there's just a period of life that where I was not living for God and begin to question some salvation. It was my own life, my own fault, question my salvation. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say for me, yeah, there have been definitely moments. Sometimes I would say the majority of my doubt, like Brad said, comes from my own sin and just knowing the depths of my heart. And I question, how could God really love me? Because I know what I've done and I know who I really am on the inside. And I have to preach the gospel to myself and remind myself that, hey.
All right. Well.
Sorry, all the lights.
If you don't like the answer, you can just tell us.
Yeah. You don't have to shut me off.
Yeah.
So,
Kevin has done this to me before.
We've had some light problems.
Honestly, he's done this to me before when I've been talking.
Yeah.
It's like when I put the phone down when my mom calls me. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's a big deal. But also I'd say, and this is, I think, applicable for a lot of students, is there's been moments in my life of extreme growth that have made me question my salvation. It made me think that maybe I didn't before know Christ because I'm so convicted about something right then in the moment. I think it reminds me of what it was like when I first came to Christ, that deep conviction. And so I think like, oh, maybe now I'm really saved. And honestly, all of that is just trying to put it on me instead of trusting in the satisfactory blood of Jesus and his forgiveness and the resurrection. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when I look back, I got saved at a really early age, and so, but I look back and I don't think I've ever experienced that crisis of crisis moment of oh man, I don't think I'm as much as it was, I've had those moments where you live in sin or something happens, and it's oh man, how can I be saved? And yet I just did this.
Yeah.
And I think, even to your point, which is really good for us to understand, because we typically think that the Christian life looks like this. You get saved, and then from there point, if you could put it on a little graph, it would be a nice linear upward line like this. And we have that idea of it, so then when life doesn't look like that, we're oh, I must not be saved. When really, the Christian life it's just messed up. We just have these things that we have highs, we have lows, so then we interpret our growth as well, if I'm growing more now than when I was then I'm what was wrong then? It's well, maybe God wasn't ready to teach you that then, and you weren't ready to experience that now. And so my encouragement in those moments of don't be afraid to ask yourself that question, man, am I really saved? Because, Scripture tells us, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. But remember that your salvation isn't determined on what you did or did not do.
That's right.
But your salvation is determined on something that God has eternally done for you that doesn't change. So in those moments of doubts that I've had over my life, I've had people speak into it. I've included people in it, that conversation, but also I've had to speak to myself, hey, Montana, your salvation isn't based on something you did or didn't do. Your salvation is based on what God has done, and that you can't lose something you haven't earned. And so that kind of going through that route, but don't be afraid of that question. Don't ignore it, but also don't be overcome by it in the sense of that, but just kind of include your church in that and your family in those conversations of I'm struggling, so that people can speak into that a little bit more.
For sure.
Real quick, I grew up in church. So I was the kid that at every camp in D now, when they talked about salvation, I was he's talking about me. I don't think I'm saved. But I know I did this 6 months ago. And so it was like that for me for years. I was always questioning my salvation. And I just came to this place where I realized I think I'm questioning it because I don't think I know the Lord. But in all honesty, I genuinely surrendered my life to him, but I wasn't walking with him. Mm-hmm. And so when I started walking with the Lord, spending time in prayer, spending time in his word, it's just Paul says, the Spirit will confirm with your spirit. I knew I was a believer. I was just lacking that personal connection. Yeah. So, yeah.
For sure. So maybe a little farther or backtracking a little, but I think this is something that is at least in the back of everybody's mind in regards to uncertainty. Have you ever wrestled with the actual existence of God. And elaborate on that. Maybe was there a turning point? Was there a moment in time when you were certain of his existence, of him being real?
Yeah, so I think, so all my graduate studies is in philosophy and those kinds of things. So I really enjoy some of these questions, and really all that means is I like asking questions more than I like answering questions. But I think there's some, I also grew up in a house where I didn't know there was like bad questions to ask. Like I would just ask, my parents were very good to like, hey, whatever questions you got, and I would just ask questions, and then I'd go into like Sunday school and ask the same question, and I was like, all of a sudden it was like, oh my goodness, how could, who is this demon that came into my class, that kind of thing. So I think I've always grown up a little bit with those questions, but I think I think everybody has somewhat of those times where, and we're going to talk a little bit about this tonight, but where you kind of catch yourself in the third person of like, do I even really believe any of this? Like that kind of stuff. And I want to encourage you, first of all, think like if God is who he says he is, and he is infinite and outside of time and space, and he's this incredibly all-powerful being, like that kind of deal, then you and I should probably expect to experience some uncertainty in the idea that I don't understand God completely. Mm-hmm. Like, because I'm finite and I'm not that. So I think there's very good reasons to believe God exists, rational reasons, and you can walk through all that kind of stuff. But I think for a turning point for me where I started becoming more okay with my uncertainty in that was not that God almost sometimes is like, you cannot understand me completely. And so I think a lot of times for the questions that I've had, and I know that people I've talked to had, the real question they were asking was, am I okay with following somebody or a God I don't always understand? Mm-hmm. I think that's the harder question to ask. Because I think when we approach some of these questions, we say, I want the certainty that God exists and all this is going to happen and this is what's going to happen. And so do the equation for me on paper. And then we begin reducing God down to this nice little equation on paper, which he is not, so that we can just say, well, now I don't really even need to have faith to believe anymore. Like, if this is obvious, if this is this, then what's the point? Then I can easily, I don't have to walk in faith anymore. And so I think for me, the turning point was, and still is growing with following a God I don't completely understand.
Yeah. I'd say piggybacking right off of that, I would say, especially for students, you live in a culture where the question often gets asked, so take one of the larger ones that's used to try and give a disapproval of God is like, well, how could God exist and all this evil in the world also exists? And that question is posed specifically from the standpoint that assumes that if that is true, then God can't exist, right? And to Montana's point, it's all right for a believer to struggle with the reality of sin and evil, to wonder and to pray and to be broken before God. Why does this happen? Why is there this poverty and just wretchedness in the world? Why is sin the way that it is? Why have you, in your sovereignty, allowed this? It's okay to wrestle before the Lord with those things and still claim fully and confidently, I believe he is real and he is good. That's right. And I just want to just throw out here one thing for myself personally, as I've struggled through those different topics. That old hymn sums it up well, just blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. The greatest assurance you will have in this life is the reality of Christ in you. There are other, as he pointed out, like things that you could think through logically and reason out to say, yes, God is real, but the greatest assurance of his reality is the Holy Spirit making you born again and Jesus invading your life. And that is something that you can always stake a claim to and say, I know that my God is real because of what he did to my heart.
That's good. Yeah, I could say I've never really denied the existence of God, or I've never battled with that. Like I said, okay, I see the proof, and look, just remember this: faith is a gift, right? And I know some people battle that from different circumstances, and I'm grateful that I've never battled the mere existence of God. Now I can look in my life, and there's apparently there were times where I battled the lordship of God. because I wasn't following him. And so that's a different battle. But I remember first class, Systematic Theology 1. Professor stands up and he says it in a cheesy way, nonetheless. But like you said, Montana, he said, you better be okay with IDK. Okay, what was that? He says, you better be fine with not knowing everything. Every other subject or every other topic that you study, as you study, you come closer to the completion of that topic. And it's just not like that with God. Matter of fact, what he was telling us, he was warning us that throughout that semester and in Systematic Theology 2, what he was warning us is that we're going to dive deep in such a way that you will have battles in your mind, in your heart. You will come to things like, why is this? And how I don't understand it. And that's just part of it. I mean, we will not understand God completely. I wish I could remember the guy's name. He's I guess maybe an apologist, but he's a super smart guy, let's just say that. And they were having a debate, a public debate, him between an atheist, someone who does not believe in the existence of God, and just he came up with an ornate question about, hey, this, and why does God do this? And why basically said, hey, you explain to me God, everything about God. And the guy stood up and says, hey, look, if I could explain everything about God, then he's not worthy of my praise. And that's the point. It's like, I don't want a God, I don't want to worship a God that I can tell you everything about in my finite mind, my mind with boundaries. I should not be able to worship a God, or he's not worthy of it, if he is limitless and my mind has limitations. And so just remember that. Maybe not the battle with the existence of God, but there are battles as far as why he does things, his purpose. But like Carter said, I mean, hey, look, there's a beauty to saying, oh, well, I love you, and I trust in you, and I may not be able to understand everything, but hey, you're my blessed assurance. So that's true.
Can I just add, one thing real quick? So specifically for students, like I hear this a ton, and I just want you to erase this from your vocabulary. Okay, so like what none of us are saying. Yes, you want to be okay with what you don't know, but awe and worship does not come out of ignorance. It comes from the knowledge of who God is. And so what we're not saying is to throw your hands up and say, well, some things are just a mystery. No, God gave us his word, and he gives us his spirit to explore the infinite riches and beauty of Jesus Christ. And he has fully encapsulated himself in Jesus, revealed to us in his word. And so there is an ocean of exploration for you to do. So yes, you say, I don't know what's beyond that horizon, but I'm going to that horizon. And I'm going to explore, and I'm going to love God with all my heart and with all my mind. And I'm not just going to throw up my hands.
Good point. So maybe this next question is a little less personal, I don't know, but what do you see today as the biggest thing attacking young believers' faith or certainty in their faith?
That's a good question. There's so many different answers. I'm sure you'll get three different answers. I think there's probably a lot of different things. Ask the question one more time. That'll give me more time to think.
What do you see? What do you see today as the biggest thing attacking young believers' certainty in their faith?
I think still, just say briefly, I think it will continue to be at least one of the major things. Just our sin will always be something, because we know ourselves, that will always be something that for a student who is caught in a culture that is okay with sin and promotes it from a young age, and we're trapped from a young age, you'll always feel that tension between who God has made you to be in Christ and who the culture is pulling you to be, and you know where you've fallen, and the enemy, his tricks aren't new. He will always come to you right after you sin and say that you are naked and you should be ashamed.
That's right.
Just like he did in the garden, he will always do that. And so in that, you are naked, you are ashamed, you should be, right? That's him trying to convince you that God cannot love you in that moment. And I think that's always going to be something.
Yeah. I'll say, and this is kind of a different answer, but it still connects to what Carter just said. What attacks you and your generation, well, when we say generation, we're saying you still have a culture, and no matter what age you are, still live in that culture. So we're affected by the change of culture and its norms, and it's just the direction that it goes as well. But the difference is you, at your age, you grow up in one that you don't know a different way. Does that make sense? And so like I remember saying, it hadn't always been like that. But that's because I'm 39, and I remember that. You don't really have that. So on that, I feel like you're attacked by, or at least more prone to fall to, is a time when there's less consistency in being a part of the body of Christ. Yes. All right. And so what I mean is you really given more excuses to be less consistent in church. And I don't mean little C church. I mean big C, a part of the church, which involves little C church. And so I think you guys have heard it too, where we're even just choosing to redefine the word active. And so people say, well, I'm highly active in church. Well, now, be honest, a lot of people label themselves highly active in church if they come a couple times a month. And the issue is that if you were to go to work a couple times a week, your boss would not label you as an active part of your job. And so what I'm saying is this, let me try to make it a little more sense, is that there is a beauty in being a part of the church consistently in your life. Consistently in your life. Let me say, consistently in your life. And you follow Christ every other day of the week, and you desire to know Him more, and you come together as a body of Christ, right? And as you've been individually and independently worshiping Jesus throughout the week, now you come together corporately and you worship Jesus together. And Hebrews tells us that as you do that, what we do is if me and Montana were in church, and not just that, maybe in a life group together, that we also spur on each other and we encourage each other. Yeah. But like Carter was saying, hey, now because of the sin, plus the fact that we live in more isolation than ever, I choose to fight these battles that will always happen. I choose them by myself. I choose them in nakedness and shame. But instead, it's an opportunity to say, hey, here's who I am. We come together as a church and say, hey, by the way, I'm battling this. We should have people in our life that say, this is what I struggle with, and that come alongside and fight those battles with us. So, pointedly, my answer is, hey, you guys more than ever are being shown sometimes by other people as well that there's that inconsistency as a part of the body of Christ is okay. And my encouragement to you is it's not okay because it's not even healthy. Yeah. You know what I mean? So hey, continue and remain, and if you're not there, then be a consistent part of the local church, worshiping and encouraging each other.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I think my answer would probably weave in and out from where they're at. I think of it from two different kind of contexts. Probably those outside the church, like what does it look like outside the church, and what does it look like inside the church? I think outside the church is the idea that there is any certainty that can exist at all. Yeah. I mean, like our culture really says you can't really be certain of anything, and so we are all free to define things we want to define, do all those kinds of different things, and what we're talking about this weekend is, hey, God says there are some things we can be really certain of. So there's probably some skepticism to that certainty even exists anywhere. That probably keeps people outside the church from wanting to even partake in the church. Like, I'm not buying what you're selling because everything else is telling me that certainty doesn't exist. I think if I were to say, what's the greatest thing to young believers that are here in the church, growing, those kinds of things, and some of the uncertainties that come with that is, I think in my own life, the doubts I begin having, or the doubts I have about God, who He is, what He can do, is oftentimes I think we understand God as just as a little better version of ourselves. So He's just a little bit better than I am. He's a little bit more powerful than I am. And so then we begin thinking, well, He's going to act like I act. So if I don't know how this is going to work out, I start worrying, having anxiety, all these different things begin taking place. Why? Because I'm asking, I don't know if I'm certain that God can actually do this. And the reason is because, I can't do it, and if I can't do it. And so we tend to make God in our image a little bit. And so I think some of the things is, are we viewing God correctly in who he is, in his glory, in his majesty, that he's not a better version of us, he's a completely different being than us. And so when he faces a problem, it's not anything like when I face a problem. And so that I remember that, well, now I might have uncertainty in my circumstances, but I don't have uncertainty in whether God can work this out for my good and for his glory, kind of deal. So I think that would probably be my answer.
Awesome. Well, I think that was good, at least just talking things out, because, we all have questions. Many times we just keep them to ourselves, and I think Satan does a good job of that. Because what that does, that keeps us uncertain. So we want to be transparent in that. Hey, we're going to move to a time, we're going to call it like rapid fire, all right? And so Marshall and I are coming down, and we're going to have some mics. If you have a question for these guys, and it's got to be a quick question, and feel free, guys, if it's like a question, we'll be like, hey, we're going to talk after, or something that's longer, we'll do that.
Can we
But
pass?
if you got a question, yeah, pass. All right.
I defer to Montana.
What?
No.
What led y'all to be a preacher?
To be a what?
A preacher. So for me, everybody's got, I think, different journeys. And some people are like, man, I was called to preach when I was 14 years old and all that kind of stuff. And that's great. That's not the journey the Lord took me on. The way I like to say it is I found myself in ministry and preaching to where it wasn't really what I thought I was going to do. I thought I was going to be a doctor because they make a lot of money. And so why not? And then started working with sixth graders, actually, and found that my gifts and passions started aligning in that, and God was like, hey, this is what I need you to do. And so, but there's nothing better than getting to get up here with you guys, none of us, and knowing we don't deserve it, and being like, Jesus really is who he says he is. He's awesome. And so that's probably my answer.
Well, I never thought I was going to be a doctor.
No.
Never. My high school teachers told me I was never, ever going to be a doctor. I would say it's a calling, okay? Here's what students and adults as well, but students, every one of you are called to ministry, by the way. It looks different in your life, but you have a calling and to be in ministry. You have a ministry. What I mean by that is by your gifts, the passions that God's given you. He's going to use that to minister to those around you and wherever he takes you. So just remember that. But yeah, mine was just 29 years old. Felt first called at 19 in a sense of, I think that's going to happen. I promise you it was 19. I promise.
Fact check.
Fact check.
Brad.
Fake news. Okay, anyway, sorry. Had to say that. 29 years old, fireman for the city of Richland. And I mean, if not clearer than the time I gave my life to Christ at 16 was a voice that, just shook me in a recliner at a fire station at 9 p.m. in January of 2009, and I was blown away. And so, but it was a calling.
Yeah, I'll just echo that.
From the older folks.
Nobody wants to ask.
I've got a question. Why are you the way you are?
Yeah.
Michael's back.
Who do you think you are?
Oh, no.
You want to get tattooed?
I'm terrified right now.
Yep.
Yeah, what's happening? What's coming this way?
I'm afraid one of these kids is going to ask, I'm supposed to know, what's my name? I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Hey, I got one. She asked, when's like a big moment, like where the Lord spoke to you specifically about something, besides being friends with me? Like, when's another time?
Say that. Hold the mouth up.
When's the time the Lord spoke to you specifically about something? Like, He's very, I guess, specific.
I just shared mine.
I'm going to share mine tonight, so you got to stay tuned. Come back tonight, and the one that I was actually thinking of. So,
I'll share mine.
It's on you.
So I was 17, and I was sitting in a worship service, much like this morning and much like you will be tonight, and I had held a lot of bitterness against my parents for different things, and honestly, because of some things that they had done. It was their choices that kind of led to that, but it was my choice that I was holding on to it. And I just remember praying and asking the Lord to show me His will and to show me what He wanted for my life. And He just spoke right to my heart, and He said, Carter, if you want to follow me, you're going to have to let go of that bitterness that you have. And you're going to have to forgive like I forgive. And you're going to have to forgive even though they're not asking for it. And I had to step into that in faith, and man, I just bawled like a baby. And but that was God speaking to my heart.
All right, I'm going to attempt to ask this right. If you're okay, maybe sharing it, or maybe not going into as much detail, what was the biggest thing maybe in high school that kind of was a struggle for you to keep you walking in the faith? Like, was there something that was that thing that always kind of, I don't know, made it hard for you to walk with the Lord? Am I asking that right, Dooley?
Yeah.
He also wanted to know what your favorite color was.
Color?
So, favorite color. You don't have to answer that one. We'll do that again later.
My favorite color is blue.
Yeah, blue.
There you go.
Green.
I think when I think back about high school, I think one of my greatest regrets I have is not taking the opportunities that God had given me, not thinking that I could have impact in my high school years. I didn't think about it that much. I was pretty apathetic and that kind of deal. And honestly, seeing how my apathy it did have an impact, but it led for a lot of my friends to go directions that they shouldn't have gone. And looking back, I would say, I wish I would have realized the significant impact I could have had and that you can have in high school. Obviously, you got things in the future you're dreaming from, but you're not in high school at this time, right now, in Brandon, Mississippi, by accident. Right. Like, God's got you here. And He's not waiting to use you. He wants to use you now. And so I think that's probably when I look back, at least if I were to say my greatest, that was one of the things, apathy, however you want to do that, but just not realizing what God could have done in me then if I was open to it.
So awesome. we just heard, Montana just spoke to this a while ago. Mine was at 16, and my life Christ. After that, I think the one thing that hindered me was those not thinking about the consequences of sin. I mean, I was one of those that said, oh man, when I get out of high school, I'm really going to start following Christ. It's just, let me get away from this, and it's just, like you said, right now is the time to follow Christ, and just not thinking about, I didn't take it as serious as sin as I should have, so.
Well, while we had these awesome guys up here, we wanted to do some fun stuff, and so we're going to invite a couple people, more people to the stage. Pete Lee, raising your hand. You don't want to come here, I promise. Pete, come on up here. And then is it Warren Seth Price? No? The Seth Price. I must have heard it. William Seth Price.
All right.
They're going to join us.
We'll stand here together.
And so this past summer, we did something, and you guys, I felt like you really enjoyed it, but we wanted to take it up a notch and do the Thunderdome live. All right. So these guys sort of know what's going to happen. Basically, we're going to bring out some chicken wings and increase our level of heat, as well as answer questions while we're doing it.
Yes.
So,
I guess that's good. Can you hear me? All right, Preston. Preston, give it up for my man Preston. He's the man. Preston. We'll just use this table. Preston, will you please bring out number one? Please, good sir. Here's a bottle of water. I'm not sure whose that is. All right, our first hot sauce that we're going to do together is called El Fuego. I don't know if you know what El Fuego means, but in Spanish it means not
fire.
Very hot. All right,
Carter, where you going?
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is just because so it doesn't drip, we'll just get from here. Right. I will say I tried this sauce yesterday and it's the first one, and I was already dying. So If I gag on this mic, just know
I
it's
don't
coming.
see a trash
You're gonna
can.
hear some guttural noises.
We don't need trash can yet.
Not yet.
Not
No.
yet. We're
All
not
right.
there yet.
Everybody
You
gets
say not
toothpick,
yet, but-
and then we're gonna ask a question.
All right.
Let me knock some of this stuff off.
Come on, Peter.
All right.
Do I have to eat it now?
So
Montana's eating it. So
I'm
I
shaking.
yeah,
think- No, you're good. Let me shake it off. Shake it.
El Fuego.
Did you eat it?
We're gonna eat the
He ate it
wing,
already,
and then I'm gonna ask you guys a question.
Montana's,
One, two,
Montana's
three.
a psycho.
I'm done. That's not bad.
Not bad.
Got a
Okay.
little heat.
How do you,
I do feel
how
like
do
it's
you
gonna
feel
be
about
wet.
it? Mine was hot.
I'm not making it through this.
I'll take that. I'll take it back. You said that's not bad?
No, that was hot.
think it's
Carter
too
just
bad.
said he wasn't making it through this. Come on, like help him out.
The
Come on,
spicy-
Carter.
Oh!
All right. So here's the question. It's just a toss-up. Actually, let's just move to the next one, and then we'll do that question
Yeah,
because we
go
have
ahead and bring
more
number 2.
wings than we have questions.
Yo,
Peter.
The,
Oh, it's kind
spice-
of like a warm-up. All
the
right.
spiciest thing I eat is El
Warm up,
Som's
get it?
salsa. So.
You can come on.
Any of y'all like spicy stuff?
But I like it.
All right.
reason.
Number 2.
I like to redefine.
Sriracha.
All right.
What is this? What is this? Okay.
This stuff is hot. This is like just classic.
This might not be.
Heat.
I'm telling you, I need
Who
that.
likes sriracha?
I need that trash can.
All right.
Yeah, you guys are psychos back there.
Break some of this off.
Here's the question. Your most embarrassing moment.
Quickly.
Quickly, any of you guys.
Quickly?
My
Yeah,
first
quick.
day of my freshman year of college, I was in my first class.
Hey,
and
there's
I
one
was,
less.
It's great.
I think everybody ate. I
I ate one.
There was one less. He ate 2 last
All right,
time.
freshman year of college, first class, first day. I'm sitting there. A girl's sitting next to me, and she leans. I'm trying to pay attention. I'm trying to be a good student, pay attention, and she leans over. She goes, "Psst." And I'm like not looking. I'm like, I'm focused. Yeah, be studious. It's first day, that kind of thing. And I said, "Psst, hey." And so I didn't look over, and she goes, "Hey," and I go, "What?" She goes, "You've got a booger on your nose." And I wiped just the biggest booger I possibly could. I don't know how long I've been walking. I've been for hours on campus with giant booger on my nose. So first day of class.
I hit Caroline in the head with a golf club by accident in front of 50 people, so I felt like trash. That was pretty bad. It was an accident. All right. I was dancing, and then she was here and just got clocked.
All right.
We good?
Anybody got one they just have to share?
I mean, was
All
that
right.
your question?
Embarrassing moment?
So we don't
Was
all
the
have
one
to
you were
No,
like,
it was-
I got
it was
one?
the dating one.
No.
All right, most
Okay,
embarrassing.
then.
Hey, most embarrassing.
All
Really
right,
quick.
next sauce. Let's
Fourth
go with
grade, in gym PE, we were on the floor doing stretching. We're sitting on the floor doing stretching. I'm just saying, I had a gas moment. And it was a wood floor, and it just echoed throughout the whole gym.
We've all
And
been
to make
there.
it worse, I blamed it on the girl next to me. It's like, oh, me.
All right. Next up is
I'll say-
from Buffalo Wild Wings. This is called Jammin' Jalapeno.
This is a little sweet, so get a little extra, all right? Carter's wiping it off.
Smart. Can't believe you.
I'm fine with it. My most embarrassing moment might happen in the next 5 minutes.
That's good.
So,
I like this
Oh,
one.
that's good.
That's like
take that one?
a cool-off moment compared to some of the others.
All right, what's
All right, this question is,
I'm gonna vomit.
what is your worst dating experience?
worst dating experience?
Worst.
I think
Worst dating
I'm gonna go.
experience.
I'm gonna go on that. Are we streaming this right now? We are.
This is live.
That changes.
is this live?
Long story short,
Yeah.
broke up. My girlfriend broke up with me on my 16th birthday.
That's just sad. It's not.
sad.
That was
It's
a
just
sad
sad.
16.
That is sad.
The redeeming part of that story, about 4 months later, she changed her mind, and I said no.
So Amanda and I started dating in 9th grade, so we don't have and we killed it. Like we're married, have kids, so we won at dating. Woo-hoo. But I think it was 6th grade. Was it 6th grade? Do you remember? So 6th grade, we went to the fair, and this is like dating. I guess all you can do dating at 6th grade was we went to the fair, and I was there interested in a different girl. Amanda was there too, and she was hanging out with a different guy. So
do I know these people?
You probably know these people, yeah. So anyways, so I'm trying to...
Was it Benin?
It was not Benin. It was not Benin. Yeah. So I was trying to impress, as any 6th grade boy would, by, I don't know if you ever, it's called the Spacetron 3000, you know the thing that spins around, pins you the wall? So like, I'm like, you know what a girl will really like if I do this like 6 times in a row, and like I would like flip upside down and do all this stuff. Anyways, I was kind of sick, so then we got on the tilt-a-whirl. It was just me and her. It was like, this is great, man. This is working perfectly until things started happening. And so I leaned over to her and I say, hey, you're going to need to pick your legs up. And she's like, what? And I just said, please pick your legs up. She picks her legs up, and I just hurl all in the bottom of the tilt-a-whirl. And it's like sloshing around.
I love that. I love how it started kindly, like, please, you're gonna need to pick your legs.
I want to be a gentleman. There's only like certain. There's only you can be a gentleman and throw up on somebody. So it's like you don't have to be a savage.
Okay, I have one. I actually have several. Dating was a terrible thing for me. It was a very bad experience. But I told you I wasn't going to share the one about you, but this is the safest one that I can share. So, because I still know people, but it's really not that bad. It was still bad. Jenna and I, that's my wife, Jenna over there. Wave, honey. Hey, sweetie. We were going to have a lunch date one day, and so I was, so rich. I went to Burger King and got some hamburgers, and get to the house, get out of the car. And it just starts torrential raining, pouring down, and the bag gets soaked. So I've got these 2 nasty soaked hamburgers, and then I drop it in a puddle of water, and I just pick it up, and I come inside, I'm like, hey, and I still give her the hamburger.
Look at that.
I still give her the hamburger, and it was like sopping wet. She was really mad. So that's the safe one I can share.
Okay.
All right. I think it's time for another sauce. So Preston,
I like that last
would you
one.
do us the pleasure?
So, these are babies. Let's bring out another one.
All right.
This is also from Buffalo Wild Wings. This is called Mango Habanero.
This is my favorite.
All right.
Where are my Mango Habanero fans out there?
All righty. Eat it, and then I have a question.
Oh my God, what is this?
Yeah, that's what I get when I go. Can I share my dating one? We got time?
Oh, there's a trash can.
Whoop, my bad.
You want that?
I'm okay right now.
All right, real quick. Worst dating experience, okay? Or worst dating experience. Me and Marshall were out to a movie. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
All right. No. I was about 18 years old, and the girl I was dating in high school, we just broke up a couple weeks before, and I worked at Sonic Drive-In. All right.
Oh, yeah.
It was cool back then. And I started dating someone else. So 18 years old, before the Mississippi Braves came here, we had a team actually called Jackson Mets, then later Jackson Generals. Well, at Sonic Drive-In, we also had, sometimes you see them on the side of the road, we're in a milkshake outfit or French fries, whatever. So we get an opportunity to do the first pitch of this game. And so I'm not doing it because I'm in the milkshake costume. And so I walk out with the guy in a milkshake, big, huge milkshake, the one that brings all the boys to the yard. And so I'm dressed up as this. And I look up, I'm sitting there like, oh, I'm a milkshake. I look up, and there's my mom, and on one side of her is my current girlfriend, and on the other side of her is my ex-girlfriend. You all right? And I forgot that I invited both of them. And so I'm just sitting here with the milkshake like,
How you forget that, bro?
well, I don't know. But I'm happily married to someone who's neither one of those, so good.
We've definitely hit that point in the sauce where it's like, all right, we need to get this done. So next sauce where I'm going to die up here. I don't know about you guys.
Hurry up.
Guys talking longer and longer.
What do we got next?
I'm already sweating.
Yes.
Lastly, from Buffalo Wild Wings, we have Blazing.
So
How many more is after this?
this stuff. This might be the worst thing I've ever done.
This is the what? Oh man, this is thick. Why'd I get the ones on the bottom?
Have you ate it? Have you eaten it? Have you done it? Have you done it?
Yeah.
All right, here's the question. Here's the question. If you were stuck on an island with any of the one person in this group, who would you choose and why?
Who? Out of who?
Just this.
I would for sure go with Marshall West. One,
I would eat him.
it'd be warm at night. Two, he has the ability to remember everything, except what happens in the last like 5 minutes.
I remember this moment.
Short-term memory, not his thing, but like long-term memory, he can tell you the whole history. He can tell you
If you throw up,
the whole history of Brandon.
Right.
And I just feel like he would have just a plethora of stories to keep us entertained.
I'm not choosing Montana because if I know one thing about him, he is cutthroat. All right, and you'll be dead. He will kill you so fast.
You gotta do what you gotta do. All right.
I want this water.
Do we have medics on hand? Okay.
I have a tear.
I would probably choose Seth. Just to be
I would
honest.
choose Seth
Can I
too.
tell my most embarrassing moment?
Hands down.
Why?
No, because I want to hurry
have
this
one.
up.
My tongue
I'm dying.
I would choose Seth
There's stuff coming out of
because
my
Seth is
ears.
the guy that knows everything. If you need to know how to cook something, if you need to know how to build something, how to fix something, all that, so we'd be Seth. I would pick Seth, hands down.
All right. Yeah. Great.
Did you guys notice the screens? That's what it feels like.
All right.
So that was
Is that the last one?
Yes,
we're
that's the last
super
one. Okay, good. I was like,
glad that we did this. We're gonna be headed to lunch in a second, but
We
do have one more sauce.
So we
Sweating.
That last one?
we have one more. We have one more sauce that we had to sign a legal waiver to get.
Had that milk ready. All right, before you eat it.
I can't eat
Show it
that.
to him. Show it to him.
All right, when we bought this, it had a waxed seal at the top that we had to cut off, like it came from, a buccaneer or something.
Hey, y'all turn around.
Like in the Caribbean. This includes vinegar, habanero peppers, reaper peppers,
You need some water?
and some other stuff.
You're not gonna drink anything?
It is called The End, and one of our life group leaders, Robbie Farnham, had to sign a waiver to buy it.
It's open, buddy.
I am not going to eat it till I have my milk.
I don't want to.
Can someone get my boy Seth the bottle of water? He can't have milk because
Can I
he'll
do-
die.
Is it on here?
I'm gonna die before the milk.
I'm stressing. Legit.
I do not want to.
Legit.
I can't read lips.
If I had on an Apple Watch, it'd
Did
tell
you
me to
tell
sit
him the
down.
name?
Yeah.
The End. That's just all of it.
Hey, but so
Can you zoom in on it?
Where's the
the end.
End? That's all it says.
It's like
Somebody decided that would be the name
like
for
those
this.
cold issues.
Do we have to do this?
The end of it.
Yeah. All right.
I think I'm gonna vomit.
Have you already eaten yours?
No. I would.
Anybody? All right. Guys, we're entering something
The danger zone.
together.
Hey, I don't
That
know if I'm
no
swallowing
one
it. Throwing that
else-
out there. I'm probably not swallowing this. I need to be here tonight, so
Marshall needs to swallow it. I'm just kidding.
I did try to
You do
last
what you
week.
want. All right.
I've already done it.
All right. Can we do this?
Is this one of those
That
you
one's
don't want
like
to chew?
burnt too.
Hey, man.
Okay. 3,
There's
2,
stuff
1.
coming
Chew
out.
it.
My nose. Are you getting one out?
I'll probably go for that.
It doesn't burn right now. So I'm terrified how bad this is about to get.
This is the beginning.
We may not have put enough on there.
the warmer has done a great effect on this sauce. And took the hot out. Yeah, blish from it.
So we soaked these sauce. There it is. All right, we soaked these sauces overnight, so took a second to get out.
It's not bad.
Everybody okay?
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm breathing fire. Yeah, I'm fine. The real pain comes later.
Is there
All right,
a question?
hey, we have one left. So, do you think there is a leader in here that should do this? Anybody?
I mean, I think there's a. He said, Marshall said don't swallow. Marshall said don't swallow. I did. Whoa.
Comes in is done. All right. Before I essentially told a male leader to do this, is there any female leader that wants to volunteer? Just stand up, show these boys how it's done. Anybody? Jen?
I think they were probably too cautious and they took very little longer.
All right, we're gonna have to pick somebody. My tongue is
I know, I'm hurt.
gone.
All right, I can't have a kid. I gotta have an adult. If you're a leader and you're interested, just raise your hand so we can look at you. Who do you want? I don't care. Y'all tell me here.
Caroline, she said she did.
You get,
That's gonna be bad.
Right?
I wouldn't do that, but
I think we did.
Not Carter ain't so lucky.
He's struggling.
welcome to the Thunderdome.
Maybe it's my mind. I was so
Yeah.
the way they built it up.
She had a lot.
I mean, don't
on
wrong.
it.
It hurt.
She had a lot on it.
I'm so thankful for milk in this moment, being transported into a pasture.
No big deal. No big deal.
one bad.
All right, hey, y'all give it up for our willing volunteers. They're amazing.
All right, listen. All right, this
Pete
is,
didn't drink the milk. He's amazing.
The last one was
Valiant warrior.
Was worth the last one.
all right, very important. We're gonna tell you what we're about to do. Golly. All right. I'm afraid if I drink too much milk, I'll vomit. All right.
But it's so soothing.
Ridge Reed and Matthew Schuler, we did that one time. You remember when we drank all that milk together? It's a good memory. All right. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. It's very important. I'll tell you about the rest of the day. Okay. In just a moment, when we are, golly.
What? The
just a
heat
moment.
is as you're breathing.
Yeah.
Like your breath.
Just don't breathe and you're fine.
Yeah.
All right. In just a moment, when we leave from here, from this room, you're going to go into the fellowship hall and the venue. You'll walk past the tables. We've got Chick-fil-A for lunch for you guys. All right. We got Chick-fil-A. You'll get a sandwich. Yeah, there's a lot to this. Get a sandwich, chip, and you get your water. Go sit down. I think they gave us a ton of Chick-fil-A sauce. If you don't like that, you can take it to school, sell it for some hustle money. All right.
Listen.
Sit down,
we gotta
boys.
go.
Sit. Listen, this is important.
We gotta be quick.
When we, listen.
We're angry right now because of this. So.
All right. So listen, leaders. So when you're done eating, throw your trash away and just hang out. We're gonna all leave from here together. We're gonna go to Spinners, and at everyone. I know everyone has a story. Like, oh, Spinners, I can spell that. Cool. All right. So listen. At Spinners, we're going to give you a $20 game card that will let you bowl, skate, play arcade games, or guys, again, if you want to use this to try to get a girlfriend, I guess you'd be like, I'll give you the, whatever. All right. Yeah. So, hang on.
Hey, a couple rules is, like I said, we are all gonna be like, hey, all right, get in your groups, head to Spinners, okay? So when you're done eating, just hang out. Secondly, when we are at Spinners, once you're there, you do not leave that building without your leader, okay? So when you're there, you're gonna be there, then when it's time, you will head out with your leader.
So listen, leaders, it's been raining, so please drive safely. Everybody buckle up, drive safe. Remember, it'll be the smartest way to get there is the back road. So listen, in just a moment, you're gonna eat lunch, and then you're gonna hang out until we say, hey, get in your group and let's go together. Leaders, we will be at Spinners until 4 o'clock, okay? So, questions, serious questions. Anybody got one? Now's the time. Leaders, any questions? Any questions? Yeah.
Leaders, any questions?
Leave your stuff here. Yeah. All right. Shh. All right, ladies first. Dude, the warmer took all the fire out.